Good morning, traders from whichever side of the country world you're watching me from. Welcome to today's morning market call. My name is Ian Joseph, market analyst at HFM. Now, a quick disclaimer before we do begin. The information herein is only meant for educational and informative purposes only. None of it should be construed as investment advice. Trading the financial markets do carry a degree of risk, but don't worry, I'm here to help you look at the markets the right way. I would want us to start with our morning market call by looking at the most recent promotion that we do have called the score and draw. When you go to the promotion segment, you have the score and draw, and I would want us to look at this presentation whereby you have an opportunity to Indeed, Africa, it is our time whereby we have just launched up the score and raw promotion whereby you have an opportunity to take home a brand new BMW 4 Series or a UK trip Premier League for two of your choice, whereby the competition did start on 1st of November. It is going to end on 28th of February, whereby once again you are going to trade and then you are redeeming points for tickets, whereby driving style powered by your trades, 25 points for one tickets for the Beamer. You're going to have once again a UK Premier League trip of your choice for two. All expenses are going to be paid for flights, accommodation, match tickets. Redeem 20 points for one ticket. Not only that, we're going to have 4 people who are going to take home a 55-inch TV. 20 people are going to take home official EPL football jerseys, and 60 people are going to be credited $200 into their account. You're going to have monthly draws. The next one is going to be in the next 19 hours and counting. Not only that, we do have the Shield 500 account whereby you have an opportunity to open the Shield 500 within the first 10 days. It's quite interesting. We have webinars that are currently ongoing. The next one is going to be at exactly 11 a.m. today, whereby Andrea Pikidi is going to take us through mastering position trading. I'm going to be holding my next webinar, which is going to be tomorrow in the next 1 day, 8 hours and counting, whereby I'll take you through market structure based trading techniques. Click on the register now, book a slot in the webinar. Now we are continuing with our Rift Valley tour this month, whereby we are going to be on we're going to be in Kericho on the 25th and 26th of November at the Sunshine Hotel from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eldoret, we are coming for you next, whereby 27th till 28th of November at the KVDA Auditorium, and we are going to conclude the month in Kitale from 29th November to 30th November at the Pazuri Hotel in Kitale. Quite interesting. Now, moving over to the market wrap-up, let me give a few shout-outs to Kagenia Nyambura. Welcome. Thank you for being the first one to join. Eugene Kemwa, hello, welcome. Kalebis, thank you for joining the stream. Now, looking at the earnings section on our website, we do have NVIDIA who are due to release their earnings sometime next week. It's going to be next week on Wednesday. To look at the tech heavy industry, what do they have currently at the moment? The AI is still booming. More profits than we initially anticipated. Only one way to find out. Looking at the economic calendar, starting with Asian session, whereby we had the Reserve Bank of New Zealand releasing their inflation expectations for the final quarter of the year, whereby the previous number was 2.28% and the number actually came out at 2.28%. Now, looking at the survey currently at the moment, the expectations over the next 1 and 2 years is expected to be below 2.37%, and this is a number that the central banks want to usually have for them to justify interest rate cuts in the near future. And this is something I would want to look at. What does the New Zealand dollar have in store for us as traders today? We shall look over the charts in just a few moments' time. Now, we have just received employment numbers for the United Kingdom, the Great British Pound, whereby it's actually come out very, very negative. Looking at the previous unemployment number, it was at 4.8%. We were having a forecast of 4.9%. The data has actually come in worse than anticipated at 5.0%. Quite interesting, looking at how many people are losing jobs in the United Kingdom. And if I click on this title here, I have an opportunity to read the official report. If I do click on the official report, it's going to take me to a new tab. And this was the official document that was released at that particular moment in time, whereby payrolled employees in the United Kingdom fell by 117,000 jobs, which is almost 0.4% between September of 2024 and September 2025. This means that more people are losing jobs over the past 1 year compared to September and October of last year, and decreased by 32,000 between August of 2025 and September of 2025. When looking at July to September, the period comparable with our labor force survey, which is the task force tasked with releasing this information to us, the number of payrolled employees once again did fall by 109,000 over the year and 26,000 over the quarter. Quite interesting. The yearly estimates of payrolled employees for October did decrease by 180,000, which is more than 0.6% on the year, and 32,000 on the month to 30.3 million. The October 2025 estimate should be treated as a provisional estimate and is likely to be revised. Now, estimates from January to March of 2025 include the full effects of the improvements of the labor force survey, data collection, and sampling methods. Now, what does this mean? We are now going to switch over to the charts. What does this mean for us as traders? Looking at the British pound. Now, looking at the United States, in the next 29 days and counting, we are going to have the Federal Reserve releasing their interest rate decision, whereby looking at the statistics, it has been improving. Looking at 7th of November, the probability of having an interest rate hold at 375 to 400 basis points is going to be at 36.6%, but actually we are seeing the numbers reduce on the probabilities of having an interest rate cut. Hello, Christina. Welcome to the stream. Now, this is going to be very interesting. Looking at it in the near future, what does this mean for the United States? Are we going to see an interest rate cut? Remember, we haven't received the non-farm payroll for the past 2 months. Yes, the government has just passed a bill and it is heading to the House. We are waiting for it to be signed into law, whereby yesterday it did pass. Earlier Sunday, it did pass by 60-40, whereby nearly all of the chambers of Republicans and 8 Democrats who unsuccessfully sought to tie government funding to health subsidies that are due to expire at the end of the year, while the agreement sets up a December vote on those subsidies, which will benefit at least 24 million Americans, it will not guarantee they will continue. The deal will restore funding for federal agencies and lawmakers allowed to expire on October 1st, and will stall President Donald Trump's campaign to downsize the federal workforce, preventing any layoffs until January 30th. Okay, the government is about to be opened up once again, but this is just a temporary fix to the matter, whereby this is going to be a deal that will hold until January of 30th. What is going to happen afterwards? Now, the markets have started printing this information. And once again, I did mention about the Shield 500, whereby you have an opportunity to open a Shield 500 account within the first 10 days. And
introducing the HFM Shield 500 account, a revolutionary new account specifically for new traders. Within your first 25 days, trade with a peace of mind knowing up to $500 in losses are fully covered as tradable funds. It is your chance to learn, practice, and grow with confidence. Ready to kickstart your trading journey? Sign up today and deposit within the first 10 days to get full access to this exclusive offer. Click below to get started, only with HFM.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Once again, only brought to you by HFM. Maginjuge, welcome to the stream. Let me share my screen now over the chart section, whereby whichever assets you want me to talk about, which are some of the assets. I do have over 308 assets on my chart. Which one would you want me to look into? I would want to start with gold. Gold's money Starting with the XAUUSD, whereby yesterday we did see quite the amount of activities whereby gold did move quite aggressively ever since the opening price around $4,000 an ounce, whereby last week Friday did actually close at $4,001 an ounce. Looking at it ever since yesterday to where we are currently at the moment, gold has moved more than 3.21% to the upper side. This is more than 1,280 pips ever since yesterday's opening price. This is less than 31 hours of trading, whereby gold has moved more than 3.19% to the upper side, and it's digesting this information quite negatively. Ripple's Nails wants us to look at gold. We are looking at gold. MJ wants us to look at GBP JPY. We shall look at GBP JPY in just a moment's time. Now, looking at these probabilities, asking myself, what could be the next possible scenario? I would anticipate prices coming back down to the opening price of the daily candle, which is at 4115.8. If we do get a candlestick that wicks to the downside but closes well above that range, I would want to look at more potential of long opportunities in the market, potentially prices moving back to 4150, which is a psychological level in the market, whereby currently at the moment we are anticipating prices to continue moving to the upper side, potentially forming higher highs, higher lows. If I can zoom out on the charts, we are already well above this consolidation that had been occurring for quite some time. If I can pick a tool to identify, this was more than 200 hours of consolidation on gold markets, but currently at the moment we are at a region of resistance. If you do wick to the downside, close above this range, I would want to look at potential prices potentially moving, breaking the next region of resistance at 4150, and 4,200 could be a likely scenario in the near future. Let me identify 4,200 could be the next potential scenario on gold in the financial markets, whereby there was a region of support that did form quite a while back. This was back in 17th of October this year, whereby looking at it from where we are to that region is almost 690 pips away, almost 1.67%. Now, if gold moved 3% yesterday, there's a high likelihood 1.6 will be a walk in the park. Looking at silver, whereby it wasn't left behind, and looking at yesterday's morning market call, whereby we did identify if prices do close well above $50 an ounce, there's a high likelihood it will continue moving further to the upper side. And yes, it did play out according to the book, whereby looking at it currently at the moment, silver is trading well above the $50 an ounce currently. And this is what I would want to see play out on gold, whereby prices coming back, retesting the opening price of the daily candle, whereby if we do break to the downside but close well above this range, I would consider looking at more net long opportunities. On the other hand, if we just do break above $51.111 an ounce, I would consider looking at silver prices also moving to the upper side. There was an inquiry about the British pound against the Japanese yen. Once again, we have just received data of unemployment in the United Kingdom, whereby it's actually come out very, very negative. And this one massive currency that we did see print out on the charts was as a result of the negative data that was received, and this was more than 50 pips to the downside. Quite interesting. In 1 minute candle, we had 50 pips moving to the downside as a result of the negative employment numbers that came in the United Kingdom. If I have a Fibonacci from this high to this low, as you can see, prices came back, retested on the 50 region beautifully, whereby we had a region of resistance, and prices are currently trading well below that region. If you do break below the lows that was made during the news release at 202.324, I would consider looking at more short opportunities. But currently at the moment, we are seeing prices retrace back into the golden retracement region. I would want to see if we have signs of sellers coming into the markets in between the golden retracement region, which is in between the 50 and the 61.8. I would consider prices moving further to the upper side, to the downside, whereby this is almost 25 pips to the downside. If prices, we do get signs of sellers coming into the market, driving the prices down. We have seen employment data coming in very negative for the United Kingdom, and investors will be looking at this information ever since last year to where we are currently at the moment. Almost 120,000 people have lost their jobs. That's quite significant in that particular economy. What does this mean? Lesser British pounds are going to be in circulation. If I'm looking at a chart of GBP JPY, it means that I need to be looking at more selling opportunities on the British pound against the Japanese yen. We have Ochieng wanting us to look at GBP USD, whereby similar scenario, whereby at exactly 10 a.m. today, we did see prices of British pound against the dollar moving down almost 36 pips. That was almost 0.27% of its total value. Identifying from this high to this low, I would consider looking at prices potentially moving further to the downside, whereby we did come back and retest on the 50 region on the Fibonacci, and I would want to consider more selling opportunities if prices do breaks below 1.31197. That could be a likely scenario in the markets, but currently at the moment we are seeing signs of buyers pushing the markets to the upper side. What is going to happen in between the golden retracement region would guide me onto which way the markets would move to next. Quite interesting. Looking at the FTSE, the UK 100, which is the the top 100 companies in the United Kingdom. Now, for equities, they do thrive on a weaker currency, whereby for these companies, if they have a weaker currency, it means that if they're exporting goods and services, they are going to get much more in return. Now, looking at it before the news was released, we had prices consolidating, basically printing side by side. But when the data was released, we did see prices spiking to the upper side, and this was the FTSE ever since the news was released at exactly 9. So my server is going to be 1 hour behind. Okay, prices has moved more than 2,415 points to the upper side, but currently at the moment we are correcting that move. Looking at it on a higher perspective, the UK 100 is still on an upwards trajectory, whereby ever since late June, we did see prices move quite significantly to the upper side, whereby the recent months have been closing well above the opening price, and I do anticipate prices to continue moving further to the upper side, considering how the markets did open this month, moved to the downside, rejected those lows, and now we are firing on all cylinders, not only on the UK 100, also looking at the S&P 500, whereby we have been seeing prices consistently move to the upper side. We did have signs of sellers driving the markets towards the downside, but we had a 3 candlestick chart pattern whereby we had a bearish candle at doji. Now we had signs of buyers coming into the markets, and this was yesterday when the news was released of the United States shutdown potentially ending. Now looking at the daily candlestick at the moment, it is still very young, and it has quite a few more hours for it to go. Looking at it ever since Asian Open, we had candlestick that had smaller bodies, larger shadows. We are getting some signs of volatility coming into the markets. If we do break the highs that was formed during Asian session, this was around 6,853, I would consider looking at buying opportunities to the upper side. Ochieng, is there a buy possibility at you on the BRLY? Kindly specify that. If prices closes above 1.3136, 1.31. So going back to GBP USD, which time frame is that? Could you specify the time frame? 1.316. Specified. Now going over to the Nasdaq, which is the United States 100 top tech companies on the hourly. Okay, so on the hourly time frame. Okay, so on the H1 time frame at 1.31367. Okay, quite interesting. Looking at how, if prices do closes above that region, could prices potentially move to the upper side? Looking at it currently at the moment, we are rejecting the lows. But now consider the data has actually come out negative for the British pound, and that is going to affect your decision-making process as the day does progress. We don't have any news releases, major news releases during New York session today, which means that New York session could be relatively smooth in terms of price action. Quite interesting. We were looking at the Nasdaq, which is the top 100 tech companies in the United States of America, whereby prices has opened, moved to the downside, but we are having candlestick print side by side currently at the moment. I would consider if we have this candlestick flipping bullish, closing well above the highs that was formed on Asian session, which is around 25,699, I would consider looking at more buying opportunities potentially prices moving further to the upper side. Remember, we are anticipating earnings from NVIDIA. NVIDIA do have a very big amount of weight in the Nasdaq, and if they do post good profits, we do anticipate prices to continue moving further to the upper side on the Nasdaq. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was not left behind, whereby ever since the markets has opened, consolidating, which is quite good looking at it from this perspective, because as a trader, whenever you see consolidation, it means that the markets are preparing for a move either to the upper side or to the lower side, which means this is the perfect time for you to look for opportunities. Is prices going to break to the upper side? I would consider looking at buying opportunities if prices breaks the most recent region of resistance, which is at 47,491. But on the other hand, if you do get a candlestick that closes well below this region, I would consider looking at selling opportunities. If I can highlight a Fibonacci, just a moment. Whereby looking back at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, we were identifying, I've lost my drawings, but it is okay. Whereby I was looking at this potential region of resistance. If prices do break to the upper side, there's a potential of prices moving further to the upper side. While if it does break to the lower side, I wanted to pick a Fibonacci from this low to this high, whereby I would consider looking at prices retracing back into the golden retracement region. If at all prices does come back into the 50 and 61.8 region, I would consider looking at more buying opportunities, considering this could be a high that was a high, a higher low, a high, and a potential higher low for prices to continue moving further to the upper side. Looking at US oil consolidating, currently trading below $59.79 a barrel. Quite interesting, whereby we have been consolidating around the price point for quite some time. Now, looking at it, oil is usually it is moved by supply and demand, whereby if the demand is high, it means that oil prices usually peak to the upper side, which we are heading into a region whereby demand is going to be higher. Winter season, as it approaches winter, it usually gets cold in these countries, and we do anticipate an uptick in the oil prices in the near future. Looking at it currently on the 1 hour time frame, we have a wedge forming, whereby I would want to consider looking at price action moving further to the upper side, considering that we are going to have maintenance of the oil rigs in the near future. Which asset would you want me to look into? I have exhausted the equities, I have exhausted commodities, euro yen, euro GBP, the euro against the great British pound. Currently at the moment, we are seeing this massive bullish candle to the upper side ever since the data was released for the British pound, whereby currently at the moment it has moved up more than 24 pips to the upper side after the news was released in the markets, whereby the employment data did actually come out negative. Quite interesting looking at how that's going to be. Now, that's going to conclude my morning wrap up, whereby there are opportunities for us in the markets. We do have the Shield 500 account. You have an opportunity to open that account. Whatever losses you do incur within the first 25 days, we are going to refund you up to $500. Take care of yourselves. I shall see you in the next segment.